Back in 2021, there was one word that was doing the rounds in India's corporate circles. Lockdown is a good guess, but no, the word which had everyone excited back then was unicorn. 44 startups turned unicorns in India in 2021. A lot of pundits predicted a similar, if not a better year in 2022, but that was not to be. Only 21 startups achieved the unicorn badge in 2022. This, as you can see, is half the number from 2021. Funding in Indian startups dried up by 40% over the last year. So, what does this mean for 2023? Will 2023 also be muted in terms of funding activity and see startups laying off more people? I'm Prateek and I will tell you all about it in this video. Before we jump in to see what 2023 is likely to throw up, let's take a step back and take a look at the key events that shaped the business landscape in 2022. First, the invasion of Ukraine by Russia in February. Second, consumer inflation hitting 40-year highs in the USA and UK. And third, skyrocketing prices in India too pushed the economy in deep dire straits. This led to the US Fed, India's RBI and many other countries tightening the flow of money in the economy to arrest inflation. So now on to 2023. What can Indian startups expect? Industry experts from venture capital firms said while the worst was behind us, the situation might not get completely better for the first 6 months of 2023.
What we predict, for 2023 is that the first two calendar quarters should be slightly warm, and barring any global issues that there are, that could not be in our control. We still see a lot of investments happen. I mean, you see Sequoia, Bloom, Artha. We're all raising a lot of capital, and there is money that is there to deploy. So I think the next 6 months could be slightly tough, I would say, but I think the toughest times have passed by already, and we're just towards the end of it, towards the end of the curve. In that sense.
Others said that the high inflation and increasing interest rates are not letting more money flow into the firms that could fund startups.
I think the funding scenario is going to be weak the first 2 to 3 quarters. I don't expect anything to change dramatically because the Fed rates and that inflation that's kicking in there is allowing any money or capital that's going to come into new funds, right? Pretty much all the LPs, especially the US and the UK markets, are holding off. They are not making any new commits, or they're committing only to the existing funds. So the challenge is also to get capital from outside, right? It's going to be restrictive now that US market is pretty much shut off for VCs for some time now. There's no new capital coming through, right? So everybody is going to operate with whatever capital they've already got committed to. So they're going to play the game a lot more slower, a lot more circumspect. So 2023 is going to be a slower game, at least till the third quarter is my expectation.
Funding in Indian startups at seed, early and late level stages has shrunk from $25.8 billion in 2021 to $14.75 billion in this year. However, the fall in funding is largely for those seeking to grow rapidly by raising capital at late stage of their business. Startups in this stage could raise only $8 billion in 2022 versus $20 billion in 2021. But there is enough capital available for seed level and early stage startups, adds Sandesha.
I don't see how recession is anyway going to affect how the seed level funding really happens. So 2023 is definitely going to be a little bit more, at least for us, it's going to be a lot more productive for Artha. I mean, there is a lot of capital sitting up there that needs to be invested. It's just that the right kind of ideas need to come to investors, and I don't see how money is anyway a problem right now in India. I don't see that happening at all.
But funding was not the last of the problems for Indian startups in 2022. Remember all the problems we discussed earlier? As a result of all that, the global markets took a battering, with tech giants across the globe laying off people in lots. According to a layoffs tracking site, layoffs.fyi, Indian startups laid off as many as 14,224 employees versus just 4,000 in 2021. Indian startups too were badly hit amid all this, with big ticket funding seeing a freeze. And top companies including unicorns delaying their plans to get listed on stock markets with IPOs. Many experts who I spoke to said the companies are likely to go slow on hiring. Layoffs could still be on the cards in 2023, but at a slower rate. While the experts sounded mildly optimistic about 2023 despite flagging certain headwinds in the form of inflation and interest rates, there are just too many variables this time to predict accurately. Also, do not forget the resurgence of COVID infections in China. But what do you think? Will 2023 be better for Indian startups in terms of funding and layoffs? Let us know in the comments below. For more such videos, follow Deccan Herald on all the social media platforms.